Do. Hey y'all. I'll wait till you get on here. Wait till you get on here. Hi. Wait till you get on here. Hey. Hi. Look, how you doing? Hey y'all, what's going on? Welcome to On Live with Kiana Dancie. Let me say this, for the record. I tried to get on to my live, and when I tell you the devil was busy, honey, he did not want me to get into his phone. So I had to restart and come on back. So just know that I am here, and I'm not going to let him win. Today, we're going to have a good day, as we had all day. Despite whatever obstacles you went through, you are here, and you are here with me. So thank you. I am grateful. So welcome again to On Live with Kiana Dancie. Today we have an amazing guest. We have Romany, Malco. And if y'all don't know him, I mean, what are you, dumb? No, I swear. Today is going to be fun. I'm so excited to see him. He is one of my favorite actors. You know, I loved him in Top 5. I loved him in Think Like a Man. I loved him. So I'm just excited to see the man. But anyway, let me get into this fools in the news. Child, let me say this. Empire stars who plays Hakeem Lion Brashear Gray was arrested for domestic violence. Brashear was arrested Monday morning, after standoff with a SWAT team and crisis negotiators, and he allegedly beat the hell out of his wife, according to cops. Now look, ain't nobody saying it's okay to beat your lady. Ain't nobody saying it's okay. It's never okay. If she make you that angry, walk away. Because it says here, Brashear's wife flagged down a good Samaritan to help and claimed her husband assaulted her for several hours at home. She had visible injuries on her body, and cops says she claimed Brashear strangled her, and she temporarily lost consciousness during the alleged assault. Cops says the standoff with Brashear ended around 7 a.m. when he surrendered to officers in front of his home. He was taken into custody on 3 charges. Y'all heard me say, taken into custody. This could have been a different story, but he was locked up, charged with felony aggravated assault, misdemeanor, domestic violence, and disorderly conduct. Okay, whatever. So here's what I'm gonna do. Fellas or ladies, because women can be abusers too. If you ever in your feelings that bad, you got to put some hands on some people, you got to put some paws on some people, walk away. And ladies, if you're in a situation, or men, if you're in a situation and you feel like you are just not able to get out, let me give you a phone number. I'm gonna give you the domestic violence hotline, because see, I don't endorse people putting their hands on the people at all. I do endorse getting away. Get out, sis. Don't stand there and get beat, girl. Fellas, don't get beat. Because women do put their hands on men. And these days, women on women, man on man, whatever. Call a number. Get some help if you are too afraid to call the police. So let's get this number out here. Someone tag it, Dancie Darlings. I know that you are ready. Pull your trigger fingers out and go ahead and put this number up. It's 800-799-7233. It's important that you know that there is help. You are not in this alone, even though you may feel as though. Please do not put your hands on the people, because see, that opens up a whole nother can of worms. You in a situation where you might have kids. It's just too much. Like, sis, bruh, walk away. So I would encourage that you do just that. Call the phone number, 800-799-7233. If you ever get so angry where you have to put your hands on people, walk away, go to another room, lock yourself away until you calm down, okay? Shout out to you. Thank you. I see you. Again, I saw the number pop up, and I'm going to do it again. 800-799-7233 is the domestic hotline, domestic violence hotline. Go on that. Go call them. Tell them I am in a situation, and sometimes you can't even, you may not be able to say it, but I bet you if you call them enough, they're going to say, oh, the people around here need some help. And the other number that my mother reminded me to give you guys today, I didn't even think about this, but, a lot of people are at home. They are alone. They are struggling. They are going through. They're having a hard time. They are not only alone, but they are lonely. And so it's really difficult to deal with that. And for those who feel like they are alone, they may be, contemplating suicide. They may be going through some financial issues. Maybe they have not been able to get assistance from the state. I don't know. But I also want you to know that there's help for you. So the suicide hotline is 800-273-8233. Someone please, Dancing with Darlings, please make sure you note that number for the people. Again, 800-273-8233. All right. Shout out to Rio ATL. I see you. Hey, Sonia Roberts. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. Today is going to be a fantastic day. What? Look. Oh, my hair's white. Can you tan the bottom of your hands? I don't know if that's a thing, but can you? Anyway, I feel real cute, honey. Let me say this. The people been out all day. I was out all day with my mom. My mother has something wrong with her knee. Don't ask me what's wrong with her knee. The people said it's not bone on bone, but the cartilage is like wearing thin. So we had to go all the way up to this place, go talk to this doctor. She don't need surgery, but she wanted an injection. I didn't go in there and talk to the people because I ain't going to no doctor's office unless I absolutely have to. And she said, no, you fine. So mama went in there with her gloves, her mask, okay, her face shield. It's going down. Like, the Dancies are not playing with y'all in this Rona. Y'all might be playing with the Rona. Y'all might think Rona is not a thing, but let me tell you something. Hey, Ryan, we not playing with this Rona. I don't care how much elderberry you take, how much black seed oil. I don't care how much sea moss you drink or soak up or lick on the bottom of the pot. Baby, if the people want you to have this virus, they gonna blow, cough, they gonna send it to you. And you gonna have to get through all these gloves, masks, and this shield. Because I done did everything. I done fortified my immune system. I done put on my hazmat suits and gloves. So what you're not finna do is get me. Because people keep saying it's fake. Okay, let it be fake. It's fake until you don't have it. It's fake up until you don't know someone who got it. And as soon as somebody you know got it, Anyway, my homeboy said something to me, and I actually thought it was really interesting. He's a white man, almost 70 years old. Very, very funny. He is a comedian. His name is Greg Langford. And Greg and I, he was like, come on, let me feed you. I was like, ugh, Greg, I'm okay. So anyway, Greg and I met. I had on my whole suit. I literally sat at another table. I don't know where he been. He was like, let me tell you something. I really appreciate that because I'm going to tell you, I have been so angry and so frustrated when I'm looking around and I'm out and about. He said, there's 3 people out in the world. I said, what? He said, it's these stupid Trump people. I said, I knew I love you, who won't wear a mask. And then he said, it's your stupid sisters and brothers who won't wear a mask. And he said, these stupid Mexicans that won't wear a mask. He said, and then when they get it, they blame me and say it's the stupid white man. He said, I ain't got nothing to do with this. I said, you right. Me and him think alike. I thought it was a great analogy. It was a great point. It is, because we want to blame everybody for our issue. Okay, let me get, I got my guests on. I see them on the live real quick. But let me say these 3 things real quickly to you guys. You guys know that I advocate for you to vote. We got to vote blue no matter who. We got to get the orangutan out. Yes, we do. I know Biden may not have been who you wanted, but he is the Democratic candidate. It is what it is. Vote. Serve your jury duty. Do what you have to do. Matter of fact, I can talk to him about jury duty. Let's get into it. Because this young man he's involved with the Innocence Project. He has something to say. Look real cute today. Okay. Come on, Ed, just coming through. All right.
Oh my God. Listen, I want to apologize. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. I'm sorry that I'm late. I was looking for you on a different platform.
No. You are fine. You are just on time. I just got off my soapbox. So thank you for coming on in. I had to fuss at the people, and I had to give the people some information. Make sure they had the domestic violence information and also suicide hotline, just in case people are going through, because people are in a struggle.
100%. That's true.
Yeah. So let me read your bio, and then you and I gonna get into this conversation because I have so much to talk to you about.
Okay, I'm all for it.
Okay. Now I practice your name. I can say your name all day long, all right, every day. But let me tell you something. If ever my producer say anything wrong, anybody's name, it could be tomato, I would never get it right. Anyway, Romany Malco is an actor, music producer, podcast host, and social media influencer who is best recognized for his portrayals of Conrad Shepard on the Showtime series Weeds and Jay in the comedy film The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Some of his other notable films include Blades of Glory, the Love Guru in Little Bit of Heaven. I know you from Think Like a Man, including, of course, all of those, but that was one of my favorites. And Top 5 and Almost Christmas. Signed a deal recently with Cranked Up Films to release the empowering comedy, Tijuana comedy, Purpose Over Prison. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are and whoever you're doing it with, put your hands together for Mr. Malco. Come on, y'all. Yay! Super excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate you. Seriously.
So let's get into it. I know you've been writing. You are creative. You're an actor. You're a producer. You're a music artist. What else have you been doing to stay creative and sane? Tell the people and help us.
Since I've been really, it's crazy during this this quarantine. I've actually been focusing a lot on my YouTube channel because it was a great opportunity to kind of share all the experiences that I was having over the last 30 years of my life, and like overcoming trauma and understanding myself and like figuring out how to get out of my own way and understand like more effective methods of communicating my emotions, but also communicating my pain. And so I'd done so much therapy and workshops and all this other stuff that I was like, you know what? Something about quarantine made me want to flip the script on my, on my YouTube channel. And I just started talking more about that kind of stuff. And people really seemed to appreciate it. And so I was doing more of that. And then when, the protests started, I started doing more videos about explaining how white supremacists have infiltrated law enforcement since the civil rights movement, the present day.
Yeah.
How like one of the first orders issued to the KKK was to, during the civil rights movement was to infiltrate law enforcement, and explaining all the different cases that have occurred over the last 30, 40, 50 years involving people of color and police officers who had who were associated with white supremacist groups, and all the different reports and statistics that have been presented over the last 10 years, and that stuff kept me really busy. And then it was time to release this movie, and then it's been all about getting out there and getting people to know about this movie.
Let me ask you this, because you brought up a point, and I really want us to address it. Because, a lot of times people don't realize how our policing system and the judicial system has been penetrated and infiltrated by KKK. No one, for whatever reason, who don't believe, they just cannot fathom that, right? But in your opinion, how do we, because you have done so much research and you are working with so many, the Innocent Project Little States, how do we offset? What do we do other than, get them out and not vote them in? What do we do to help offset those issues?
Listen, I'm an entertainer, and I don't know how qualified I am or am not to be speaking on this. I can just tell you the conversations that we have within my circle of friends who really aren't actors, who are artists but not actors, and who are activists. There's just real talk. We're kind of late to the game, and so people don't seem to understand this, but White House politics really distract us from our real power. Our real power is actually in the local vote. The vote that's going to affect your chances at employment the most, or the quickest, the votes that's going to have the most impact on your immediate life is your local vote. It's like people standing in line, at a chamber of commerce, that's where the real vote makes a difference. The judges, the sheriff, and
district attorneys.
District attorneys. And so we have to focus, get educated, and find a way to make that sexy. That's one part of it. And again, this is just my opinion. This is coming from an entertainer. Another thing that's important is we have to start forming PACs. We have, there are 3 different types of PACs that you can form, and we have to start understanding the importance of forming these PACs so that we can, spend our money as a collective and rally behind politicians that are actually speaking our language, that are actually interested in creating a level playground, But we also have to understand that lobbying is a real deal, and it's something that's real in this country. And though they tried to regulate it, lobbying is a part of politics. And as boring as it sounds, we have to find a way to make that sexy. We have to
Yeah.
get involved in that game.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that, and it's one. And the reason I brought that up, I saw your interview on The Real, and I thought, this is very informative. But I don't want you ever to say I'm just an entertainer, because you're yes, you are an entertainer. But guess what you are? You are a father, you a son, you a husband, or have been a boyfriend to somebody. You vote. You make purchases in the community. So your voice carries weight. You have power in your vote, and you have power in your voice. If you decide as an entertainer to say, I don't know where you live, but if I'll use me as an example. If I decide, hey, all of my followers, we're not going to Kroger. We're not.
Right.
So if I make enough noise about not shopping at Kroger, eventually Kroger's gonna be like, well, what we do to them people? Why they not? What happened? So we have to use our voice, and we have to use our muscle to, for lack of better words, to make an impact. And you're absolutely right. Local vote does work, but I want people to not negate or ignore the fact that our president situation that we're in right now is imperative, because unfortunately, Trump has put so many conservative judges in line to never go away. And then also he is affecting the Supreme Court, which people need to understand that affects our day-to-day lives. So yes, vote. And if you can't find anybody to vote for, guess what you need to do? Run.
Oh, good point. I love that.
Yeah, run. If you can't find anybody that look like you, think like you, or have any idea of what you got going on in your community, hold your people accountable. Guess what I did? I picked up the phone. I do this every day. I call I call the mayor. I call the mansion's office. Why is every place that's black and brown open in Atlanta, but the the governor's mansion is closed? Why? We want to see you. We want to visit. The White House is still closed. We want to visit. Unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
I'm trying to be cool, but I have this funny feeling, like I'm inclined to believe that, seriously, the government has quietly been trying to get rid of. I don't have an allegiance to a party, but I believe in policy, and I believe that our government, especially the government in office right now, has been quietly trying to get rid of black folks.
Yeah.
And they've known about all these things. They've gotten so many different reports from Homeland Security. They've gotten reports from the FBI about you've got white supremacist police in communities of color, and then you're protecting them. They purposely implement, and then you're protecting them with qualified immunity. I think that the reason that nothing's happened is because it's kind of like this covert mission to let it go. And it's the same thing. Yeah, let's keep all the black communities open. I don't know. This is all speculation, but I'm just that I feel as though our government is quite aware, and I feel like the disdain for black people is on all tiers of it. You know what I mean? My ex's father was a delegate, and you know what? There are politicians out there that care. But when I got to go there and meet some of the brothers on the Black Caucus, they're dealing with that shit too. You know what I'm saying? That it's like they bumping heads all day. Sometimes
all day.
So anyway, yes. So I don't know why, but I love that you're calling your mayor, you're calling your governor, trying to find out what the I do pick up the phone. I do pick up the phone and call, and I do encourage people to call, but not every day like you.
Well, you should. And you know why you should? Because right now we're in the middle. We just voted. My family and I actually went down the ballot, and we asked, what is your position on this? What are you going to do about that? What's this? And we expected them to email us or write us back. And if they didn't, they couldn't have our vote. We need to talk to you. And that is the thing. And I keep trying to tell people, they say that Biden does not have a black initiative. He actually does. You have to go look to it. But guess what? What is Trump's black initiative? But Trump can care less about us. Today he said, I don't know who he was talking to. I heard it on the radio. I came in on the tail end of it. Someone asked him, what is he going to do about all the Black Lives Movement? What is he going to do about all the black people who are dying at the hands of white police? Do you know he actually said white people are dying too? More? Where? How, Sway? When? Prove it. He said that. It can be heard over and over and over again. So your point is very valid and accurate. He don't care, and many of them don't. But we got to do something. We got to vote them out, and that's where we start. We got to vote from the bottom And at this point, the most important, well, there's a lot of elections that's, yeah, we got to vote.
Look, not to preach, not to get too carried away, and not to preach too much, but there's a couple things that you make me think that I want to speak about. One of them is that a lot of us, including myself, thought that in the previous election that Donald Trump was a decoy to manufacture Hillary consent. So people weren't really, a lot of people weren't pleased with Hillary, weren't pleased with the choice. So we kind of underestimated the importance of the significance of Donald Trump overall. Sure. So we thought that he was being used as a decoy to manufacture consent. We weren't aware of what Hillary was doing behind the scenes with the DNC and how, as a result of that, it cost Bernie the election. We didn't know any of that. We just knew that we were more hyped about other candidates. Cool. So what we did was we kind of laid back a little bit and we assumed that her becoming president was inevitable. If I've learned anything from that election, I did vote, but still, if I learned anything from that election, is that you can never assume it's in the bag.
Yeah.
No matter what, you never assume it's in the bag. That's the first thing. Another thing is that when we speak about what we want, I think that that's the other dialogue that needs to be had a lot more, is that we need to start discussing what we actually want and how it makes sense. Because I might have an idea that sounds like common sense, but it might not, but maybe speaking to someone like you who's a lot more politically inclined, it might not actually benefit the community in the way that I think it would. Maybe I'm thinking too specifically. So that's what's, in my opinion, that's one of the things that's missing is I hear us saying, you got to give us some, what do you want? But we need to be clear and specific because that's the only way that it's ever going to come to fruition. The reason is because I've seen it firsthand. If you've got your own clear agenda of what you need, and you're able to articulate it as a collective, and you're able to put your money behind it, these dudes start doing the dance. They start doing the dance.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. No one heard us. They didn't hear Black Lives Matter until they started burning things down.
Yeah. Well, no, they didn't hear Black Lives Matter until white people started saying Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, that too. But when we got in their pocket, they were like, wait a minute, you burning our shit? Yes. That is a problem. And I do agree, collectively, we need to come together. But the issue is right now, there's no real leadership. We need to figure out. So at this time, we don't have a Malcolm. We don't have a Martin. There are definitely leaderships in our community who are making noise, who are doing some things, who've kind of, gathered some people around. But we need to gather as one and figure out what does that look like and take those initiatives to our candidate and say, this is what we need. But the first thing we need to find out as a collective, what do Black folks want? Some of us want reparations. Some of us believe it'll never happen. Some of us don't want the damn mule. Well, I want my mule and my acre. I want it all. I want everything that was due to me. And I know many people believe that our vote does not matter, but our vote do matter. And even if it didn't matter, let me tell you why I vote. I vote because my mother's mother was told that she would never. I vote because my mother's mother was told that she shouldn't. I vote because my mother was told that she couldn't, she wouldn't. All those things. So my thing is we should vote just because they don't want us to. If it was not so important, they wouldn't be cheating. If it wasn't so important, if it didn't matter, if my vote didn't matter, why go through so much and, try to prevent me from voting? But, I don't want to talk about us or me. I want to talk about you. I know that you have so many things going on in your career. I have literally followed you for so long. And I watched the trailer. I laughed, I cried, because I can understand where this comes from. Someone getting out of jail, has some dreams, but how do you plant your feet? You're a felon. You know what I mean? So who am listening to? All of it. So what was your inspiration behind the main character? And wait, that name, Tijuana Jackson.
Oh, okay. By the way, I created this character in 1999. And
let's go see the light of day.
It was way back. And, I hadn't really put much thought into the name, actually. It was just a character. And the thing that, for me, is I was always the dude, like, if I was in a rap group, one of the dudes in the rap group's brother just got out of prison.
Right.
He might be a little, off, right? I'd be the dude that end up hanging out with him. I'd be the dude that end up going on some double dates that I probably shouldn't have gone on. You know what I mean? But
trying to get him acclimated.
Right. I didn't have it in my heart to shun him the way that the rest of the community did.
Sure.
And so these brothers kind of became dudes that I grew up around and grew up knowing. And those personalities heavily influenced the way in which I created this character. And so And then also the dynamics of their lives, like they would get out of jail, right? And people don't notice, like a dude get out of jail and sometimes their family don't even want to fuck with them, right? But then you got that, and then you got that they can't really get a real job simply because of the fact that they have this infraction on their record. And a lot of times, it's not like these dudes ain't trying to do something. It's just that they've got the cops fucking with them now, because you can basically stop, frisk, pat down, and do whatever you want to anyone who's got a record, right? Or probation. You can't get a job. You're not getting support from the community, and you're not getting support from the job market. You're just kind of stuck. And so I looked at that and I go, okay, so I want to write a story about a dude who gets out of jail and kind of feels like he's in that position. And show all the ways that he gets in his own way. But what we don't factor in is when you hear people talking about black on black crime and shit, right? Let me explain something about black on black crime that a lot of people fail to realize. Is that from the very beginning, from the 1800s, you, no matter how much money you made, you were forced to live in what's considered a high-risk community, right? So they made laws to protect you from that. And then as you continue to move forward, something came along. We had this Great Depression, and it was very difficult for people to come out of that Great Depression. So what the government then started getting involved in, like regulating how people obtain loans and started building so that people could get back into owning homes. And they called it the New Deal, right? They called it the New Plan. I think it was called the right. Okay. So again, so black people were like, cool, we're gonna get on our footing. And the government was like, no, actually, y'all still got to live over here in these high-risk areas. We ain't going to say it public, but this ain't for black folks, right? And then followed that with redlining and the new Jim Crow, and followed that with redlining. It's like black people have always been forced to live in these very specific communities. Now, what people don't understand about when you're forced to live in these types of communities is that these communities are purposely heavily policed. And by being heavily policed, you are consistently having male figures extracted from the families, from the community. So now you're a young 10, 11-year-old living in a household where your father's been extracted from the household, 1 in 4, right? So you're having that extracted. And then these communities, they don't have any real access to mental health, dealing with mental health. They don't have any access to dealing any real, like they might have a clinic or two, and they might have like a main county hospital, but for the most part, medical attention is almost impossible to obtain.
Stop there. Let's pause you for 1 second. I disagree with that. Because first of all, black folks always like to lean on the church. And there are people, there's not always not been people in our community who are not educated, right? So there has been a doctor, there is a nurse, there's an attorney that took care of us, right? When it comes to mental health, we were quick to say, oh, just pray it away. See, a lot of our problems that we have as black people is self-induced. We have to look within ourselves and see what is broken. We don't need to keep looking to these white folks to give us no help.
No, time out. Let me jump back in here. I'm just telling you that, and I'm not trying to diss you. There's always been black doctors. It's just that them black doctors want to get paid too. And so when a qualified black doctor, like my neighbor Isaac, don't get me wrong, man. Right? He went and worked to see the cyanide. He wasn't trying to work in the hood, right? The doctors that I knew, they wasn't trying to work at Kings County Hospital where I was born. And not saying that those doctors weren't there. I'm just making the point that we had limited reach. I lived in Los Angeles, California, like on Beverly and 3rd. Within that radius right there, we had like 9 hospitals, see the cyanide being the most pronounced. It's not like that in our community. And I'm just, listen, I'm not saying that these things don't exist. I'm just saying that the reality of it is yes, we do say we can pray it away. But in truth, we haven't honored the importance of psychological wellness. And what a lot of people don't understand, and what I was leading to, what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of the violence that you hear people talking about, black on black crime, what they don't realize is that statistically, 60% of people who are in gangs have an emotional disorder or psychological disorder or a learning disorder or a learning disorder. 80% of the crime in the United States is attributed to. And 46% of violent crime is attributed to gangs. So what people don't understand is that when you are forced to live in certain conditions, when you don't have consistent sanitation, you don't have clean water, you don't have these basic necessities for life, it's trauma. We see it as the norm, but it can be traumatic. And as a result of that, it produces a certain type of, the character in my movie is one of those beings. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to show you how, I'm using this character as a vehicle to demonstrate how, with this conditioning, this pray it away mentality, because his mom is all about Jesus, I'm just trying to help you people see how we have to kind of, this forced to work past being institutionalized to actually get to some freedom. And so I'm not trying to preach. The movie is funny as hell, and it's wrong.
It is.
The goal is to really tell stories and make people laugh without being preachy, but also really touch some core issues. So this brother that I'm speaking of, and cut me off when you need to, but this brother that we're speaking about comes from this environment where he's experienced, adverse childhood trauma. He's been incarcerated since the age of 13, in and out of the system. He has a mother who allowed him to be abused. He has a mother he's never really resolved, and he has a sister who had the same fate. And so coming out of, what do you do with that environment? How do you make sense of that environment? How do you succeed beyond that? And that's what the story's about, along with being disenfranchised for having a record.
Right. So one of the viewers are asking what's the name of the movie. The name of the movie is called Kiana Jackson. And I want to address a couple of things that you said. First of all, you are absolutely right on many points that you stated. There's a young man named Lester Young. He served 19 years of a life sentence. 19 years. Came out of prison. Of course, he was a felon. He doesn't like to be called that. But one thing that I did enjoy when I talked to him, and I learned, I wouldn't say enjoy, one thing that I learned, I enjoyed to see how he has turned his life around and what he's doing. He's an author. He's a activist for criminal reform. But one thing that I did learn from him, and as you stated, when you come out of prison, you're serving a second sentence because you cannot get a job. You can't say that I served time as a felon, all that stuff follows you. So guess what we need to do? We need to hold our lawmakers accountable for making it easier for when I serve my time, I am done with that. I have changed my life. When I go to prison, God forbid I ever have to, but if I were to go to prison, I serve my time. That it should be rehab. I should be rehabbing my life.
Yeah.
Just turning it around. And that's what should be important for us, for anyone.
Believe it or not, that's a lot of what defunding the police is actually about. Like if you look at the budget that is allocated to the police versus everything else, what you'll notice is that the budget is so robust. It's like 20, 30, 40 times what we allocate to friggin' education. And so what defunding the police actually means is that rather than having people who are not qualified be the first responders to issues that might be due to a lot of psychological issue, or it might be dealing with someone who has behavior modification issues. He might have autism or something like that. We shouldn't have police showing up to that shit. One of my favorite jokes from Sarah Silverman was a police officer pulled her over, and the officer was like, "Do you know why I'm standing here?" And she was like, "You got C's in high school, And I'm just not trying to knock, but I'm just saying police aren't necessarily qualified for that. On top of that, what you're dealing with is, once again, is a very tainted police system. And it's as a tainted police system. That police system needs to be purged. We can't go back to having, it's a fact now, it's established. I don't know, we can't go back to having white supremacist policing communities of color. Because just like the white neighborhood, who have people dealing with autism, and you have not so okay Betty, but everybody kind of tolerates her. We have the same thing in our community. Only communities, those people are interpreted as a threat. So the police actually means allocating more money to those things. It actually means
the programs,
good programs, and this is the mental wellness, but also education. See, one of the things I will tell you is that my family's Trinidadian. So as a kid, I went to school off and on in Trinidad and Tobago, and I lived off and on in Trinidad and Tobago. It didn't matter how poor you were, you got your ass whooped by the teach school in Trinidad and Tobago, and you were forced to be, you had to be educated. And it really stood out to me living in the United States, seeing how, well, if you're poor, you get this education. And if you're somewhat well off, you get this education. And so with that being said, that's another thing that defunding the police will do, is like kind of help in-state programs that actually educate children in a way that gives them a fair playing field, despite what the state, what federal, state, and property tax contributes to their education. And as you can see, federal is pulling out left and right. So
so I agree with you. What you're saying is dead on. And someone just asked, how do we get more cops into how do we get more Black cops? And I'll say my answer to this, and you can join me. First of all, we have to make it more attractive. Most Black men don't wake up and say they want to be the popo. We have so many negative names for the police, popo, 5-0, you know, and I only know a few because I'm not a hood girl, but you know what I'm saying. No one wakes up. And then when you talk to little boys and you say, you want to be a police? No. They don't think being a police officer is attractive. But if we clean up the image, if we increase the pay, you know, we need to do community policing, like you said. We need people to police that look like us in our community, because then it's not so much like I'm gonna get in trouble by a white man and you can put in this fear. It's a relationship, and it's a level of respect that man as a police officer should have for that child, that son, that boy, that girl, that woman in that community, because he lives in the community and he wants just as good for the community as you want for the community, period.
You know what? I will tell you something. I agree with you. But when I look at that on a larger scope, and I have a funny feeling that this conversation is on its way, but when I look at things on a larger scope, I believe that the truth is that we often, the culture of police culture as a whole has developed a reputation, at least within the Black community, that you can't repair. It
can't be a papa.
Yeah. So, but I do believe that when you look at the precinct, you look at the precinct as this entity that's over there. What we need, in my opinion, we need smaller precincts that are more interwoven into the community, that are actually a part of the community. So maybe that precinct has a hall. You know, it has a hall a community hall that people can use, where people can come to gather and have direct dialogue with police officers, and so that in doing so, you begin to create a better picture. Because a lot of times we have to see it first, but you begin to get a better picture for kids of what it means to be a police officer. Because now these smaller precincts are going to be hiring from the community.
I love that. You can provide internships. There's so many things you can pull from the community to make people want to leverage a relationship with the police kind. You know what I mean?
Right, but it's true. But it's like, if you really think about it, right? If a police officer in New Orleans does some crazy stuff and gets kicked out of it, loses a job, he just goes to another community that he probably didn't even grow up in and gets rehired. And so what you said to me, when you say it, what it really means to me is, it really means that policing involves culture, and cultural understanding, cultural empathy. And so the way in which a person that was there for Katrina and survived Katrina might police a community, and I keep referencing New Orleans because I ain't going to sit here in front. I have been in situations in New Orleans where the police was like, if you go down there, you on your own. I've spoken at one of the most dangerous schools in the world when I went there, and the police was like, well, hey, whatever happens, it's on you, because all the kids are placed after the. And so when I think of a place like that, maybe someone who had survived that with that community, was there helping pull people's mamas out of cars and whatnot, is going to treat the community differently than someone who hadn't experienced that. You get what I'm saying? And so to me, I'm looking at having smaller precincts, and I'm looking at those smaller precincts being more specific to the community, more interwoven to the community. So that's my take, and I'm sorry for being so long-winded about it.
No, I love it. I want to make sure that we touch on your point. So what is the overall message? Let's go back to Tijuana real quick. What is the overall message for Tijuana Jackson?
The overall message for my movie is actually fairly simple, which is that one of the reasons that I'm trying to stay on topic, but there's so much prefacing. But the overall message is that that we don't really stand a chance. Is that you can achieve a bunch of things, or you can achieve fulfillment.
Mm.
And you have to be able to know the difference. And so the message that you end up with in mind is that your pain can actually guide you to knowing your purpose.
Nice. Come on, pain can know. Come on. That's a word. Okay.
Hey, and that's what this character ends up having to do. You have to use his pain actually led him to his purpose. And purpose goes hand in hand with community. Who are you serving? Right? And so through that you can accomplish fulfillment. A book that I read by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, he said that he doesn't encourage, he says bitterness is what happens when you pursue success. No, he said, bitterness is what happens when you pursue success, and fulfillment is what happens when you purpose.
Come on.
And so that was kind of the point of this movie, was to kind of get us off of this. We're on a hamster wheel in pursuit of the bag. We all want to get the bag. But what we do is we don't take care of ourselves along the way. And when I say take care of ourselves is that what I have found I'm 51 years old, and what I have found in my life so far is that if you don't find some level of resolve, psychological resolve, you're going to sabotage any degree of success you are able to attain.
Yeah.
Right? So it's one of the reasons that you see, these successful people punching their wife in the face in public, or people spending all their money on drugs. The reasons for this are often you assumed that somehow success was going to fill this void. Understanding that the process of filling that void requires you doing work. And the simplest way I can explain this shit is like, every single time you had a thought as a child, or you had something that triggered you as a child, this bolt of electricity happened in your hypothalamus, and it actually carved a tunnel in your brain. And every little piece of trauma, every moment started would create a bolt of energy, and that energy, that electricity would carve a tunnel. And then those tunnels became bigger and bigger and easier and easier to go down. So that's how you formed your behavior. You're conditioned by those formative years and those bolts of electricity, right? Neuron synapses. And so now, as you get older and you want to change your life, you actually have to force yourself to do what feels counterintuitive, because the brain your conversation is having with you is, well, why we got to do that? Why can't we just go down this tunnel? We got this tunnel.
Right. We ain't got to do that new. We know how this works.
I don't want to do the new. It's too much work. You have to do the work. You have to do it. And part of doing the work is figuring out how to let go of things. It's learning from things. It's taking full ownership. Like I'm one of these hard brothers who be like, people be talking about how messed up their relationship is and all this shit. I'm like, you ain't no victim. You ain't no victim. Right. Our intuition is the most advanced. I don't give a fuck what Tesla does. The most advanced technology on this planet to this day is our intuition. And you saw the red flags, and you wanted it anyway. It might not have been what you
and you ignored the red flags.
You ignored the red flags. Exactly. So we in that aspect, in the relationships we choose, we ain't victims. And so I'm just using that. I'm just making to say we have to figure out ways to carve new pathways to not be attracted to drama, to not be attracted to abuse, despite growing up in it.
Yes. So listen, I'm going to get the rap sign. So I want to get these last couple questions in because I got some things I want to ask. You recently released a video explaining how, well, no, you know what? We already addressed that. Can you please tell us about the PEP notification app that you are the founder of, and why did you feel there was a need for it?
Damn. Okay. So in a nutshell, the PEP app is this right here. It's an app that I've designed so that on social media to the people who want to follow you on.
Oh man, it's freezing up. It froze up. So start at the beginning. Say it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the future. You have to come to terms with the fact that companies like Facebook to take as much of your personal information as they can. They're going to sell it. They're going to invade your privacy on every level that they can, and they're going to marginalize your outreach because they want you to pay for it, because that's how they make money, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's still an amazing platform. So I create something where, and then also another thing is now, if you've noticed with COVID-19, and if you've noticed with Black Lives Matter, they've started like censoring and shutting shutting down hardcore. I've been experiencing this for forever, since 2012. But aside from being, all the data mining, this and selling of your information and spying on you, they're also censoring the shit out of you. And so the new is you're gonna have to find a way to corral your followers and notify them without the aid of Facebook, because Facebook is only going to notify about 1.6% of the people that are actually following you. Well, what's the point of working so hard to build this following if you're only able to reach a small amount? If they only doling out a little bit, that's slavery all over again to me. So I'm gonna bust my ass all this labor, and then you're gonna tell me I get to eat the pig's feet and that's it? No more.
Right.
So I created this app for people whose narrative doesn't fall in line with the mainstream narrative. I've created this app for people who are ballsy enough to tell people, don't follow me on Facebook. Follow me. You can follow me on Facebook, but follow me on the PEP. And then on the PEP, you get to notify people specific to the platform that they follow you on. So if someone follows you on Facebook, you can notify all your Facebook followers through the PEP. If they follow you on Instagram, you can notify all your. And this way, 100% of the people who get your message, that follow you, get your message, get your notification.
Nice.
And the last part about it that I want to say is that it's really clean, because when you scroll through social media today, there's so many prompts, there's so much noise. Well, this eliminates all of that, because each notification takes you directly to the post on whatever platform. There's no scrolling through drama to get to it. That's all.
I love it. I love it. Now let me get into this before I get the rap song. Did you rap song? Did you get a chance to work directly with President Barack Obama when you consulted on the panel about social media outreach?
Wow, you remember that? No, I did not get to speak directly with President Obama. I actually spoke with his team, and his team consisted of a lot of young minorities. You know what I mean? Black and brown folks who are just upwardly mobile and very ambitious. But I honest to God, keeping it real, I'm not sure how much of what we were there talking about was actually utilized.
So let's go back to the movie, because I know that the movie is coming out July 24th.
July 24th in select areas. July 31st is going to be everywhere. It's called Tijuana Jackson: Purpose Over Prison. I promise you, it's going to be one of the funniest movies of 2020. I promise.
Very funny. Now, you say everywhere. Do people going back to the theater?
Not really. What I mean by everywhere is everywhere, video on demand, digitally. And here's the irony. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell y'all. Sometimes you just gotta pursue things on blind faith. How much time we got?
Come on.
Let me tell you.
5 minutes.
Damn. Okay.
We're gonna bring you back. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm rushing. 5 years. Hollywood's promising me, we want to make this movie. Everybody's saying they're going, I'm bringing the money. I'm getting the money. Nobody comes through. I'm living in Puerto Rico, and I have this revelation. I'm like, damn, really, all you need to make a movie is money. I'm like, I should start a crowdfunding campaign. Started a crowdfunding campaign on a whim, right?
Wow.
My manager calls me, hey, I'm a little worried about you starting this crowdfunding campaign because you're an actor and you asking for money. That's not a good look. I was like, wait a minute. I'm surprised that you consider me an established actor, because if I was an established actor, I'd assume you'd raise this money for me by now.
Come on.
He was like, okay, all right. I said,
shut him down?
Exactly. I was like, listen, dude, I don't care about how I look. This message is very important. And I've been taking promises for at least 7 years, and ain't nobody came through. So I started the crowdfunding campaign. The crowdfunding campaign was a success. I put in my own money, and I got some money from an investor. Took that money, went and made this movie on blind faith. Regina Hall was like, this shit is funny as hell. I want to get involved. Got Regina Hall involved. Got a bunch of them involved. You will see. She plays his probation officer. It's craziness. I go make the movie, and here we are. A few years later, the movie was supposed to come out like the same week that George Floyd was murdered in broad daylight. And we were like, we can't do that. We can't do that. And so my whole focus shifted to activism. But I sat back and was looking at some old footage or behind the scenes footage when we were shooting this, and I was like, these were my words. I don't know if this is a movie that I would want people to see in theaters, because the shit that this character says is so wrong that people might feel guilty laughing aloud. You know what I mean? In front of other people. You watch on your phone And I ain't gonna lie,
Yeah.
COVID-19 has created the perfect scenario for it. And lastly, the situation with George Floyd has too, only because I feel like this character is a representation of Rashard Brooks, of George Floyd, and all the people that are dying for no fucking reason. Excuse my language.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
I went to my computer because I know that you're working with a project. I think it's called the Innocence Project, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tell me real quickly what was your involvement? How can we support you? What are you working on that we, other than your movie, that we can throw our support behind your community initiatives? What are you doing? What do you need?
I'm digging up my list right now. I'm gonna tell you what.
Come on, dig up your list.
Okay. Okay. I got what I love about the Innocence Project is that they help exonerate people who've been imprisoned by this judicial system unjustly.
Because they didn't have money and they were cute.
They didn't have money and they were 10, 20, 30, 40 years of people's lives lost. And these people come around like angels, like straight pro bono, and get people out of jail. So I put any opportunity I get to make donations throughout the year, I always put money into that. I'm also a part of something called the Justice Fund. And we got a PAC. Look, I'm telling you, we got to get into this PAC game. So we have this PAC where we basically rally behind politicians who are willing to take real initiative, like the governor did in Colorado, to sign a bill that is actually about to defund the police by like 50%. That's what we're talking about. We need politicians that are trying to act. I don't want to hear, don't sing me no songs, don't give me no tap dancing, don't show me how much you like soul food. I don't give a fuck. Excuse my language. I don't care. What I need you to do is show up with real bills, sign bills.
Yeah.
And I'm saying something. Being someone who's lived in California, I don't live in California now, but being someone who lived in California for a while, California is a prime example, right? So what you have is California is really a democratic state. So you have a lot of frustrated Republicans within that state. And on a local level, they have an impact. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes it feels like there's a lot of rah-rah for all this progressive movement, but California rarely spearheads that shit. It ends up happening in fucking New Mexico, what ends up happening in Colorado and Washington. You gonna tell me California couldn't legalize weed before these motherfuckers?
Come on.
So
since you brought that up, I want to make sure we say this because I'm always advocating for. What is that? Bring it back.
This is what you were asking about. So this is it right here. This is the Justice Fund. If you want to know more about it, just text to 30403. 30403. It's a Justice Fund. It's a PAC that rallies money behind politicians that are speaking the language that is going to help to create a level playing field and allow our communities a seat at the fucking table. And I'm done with I don't want the rah-rah. I don't want friendships. I don't want friendship. I want you to put your money where your mouth is. This is dope. This is bag time. Show up with your bag or don't show up at all.
Come on. That's, before you even, before I let you go, I want to make sure I mention this too while I have your viewers on. Let's say this. I want to remind people how important the jury system is. Your jury duty is very, very important. We are so often trying to get out of jury duty because we don't get paid. I'm inconvenienced. It's going to be all day. I can't eat. But you don't understand how many times when a black or brown person decide they're going to do the trial, and then they have to have their trial in front of Karens and Kens opposed to having a trial in front of their peers. The jury trial is important. If you do your jury, your service, that's your civic duty and your responsibility.
Let me tell you how important it is. I got called into jury duty. They had a Mexican gangster who was going to be on trial, and they had 100 of us come into a room, and they were asking us questions. Let me tell you how important jury duty is. And so they were asking questions like, so have you ever had any issues with law enforcement? If you have, raise your hand. We raised our hand. Then they started asking, well, what was your issue? I was like, oh, that's interesting. So then they started talking about the client.
Yeah.
They started saying, so are you telling me that you would feel safe if this vicious killer came into your house? And so I raised my hand. I'm like, are you implying that the defendant is a vicious killer, or are you just speaking in general? They was like, get his ass out of there. He got to go. They were looking for the most okey-doke people for that jury.
Yep.
They weren't looking for sound decision makers. They were looking for people who are easily indoctrinated by media, who are easily indoctrinated by a slight shift in words. And so it's important that we who have like some little bit of independent thinking stand up, because we can actually save one of our people's lives.
Absolutely. And make sure we answer those questions as non-biased as possible. And do not go into that jury. When courts start open, do not go in there with the Black Lives Matter messaging, because they will eliminate you immediately. So be mindful what is happening. Understand that you have power in your vote. There is power in your presence. I just wish we knew that. And if we knew that,
okay.
We can talk all day.
We could talk all day, but I want to go. I want to go somewhere with that too, which is we have to figure out a way to identify one another, because I don't know if you know. Do you know what? Does any there's so many incognito white supremacists
and incognegros
and incognegros too. We incognegros too that we spend our money with, and so. We have to figure out a way to be able to identify one another, because I know this is going to sound vicious. This is going to sound horrible. But my dream is to disenfranchise every racist in the United States of America. And I sincerely believe
and I'm getting that we have to bring you back.
One of the most effective ways to simply do that is to be willing to sacrifice convenience for respect. For fair patron. Like, you can't have a company announce Black Lives Matter and then turn around and realize it's gonna cost them money and flip the script, and then you continue to pour your because it's convenient. You're actually in doing that, you're actually enabling racists, because that company's sentiment was exposed like that. There are other entities involved with that company, whether they are vendor, that are also being supported by your patronage.
Absolutely.
So you have opportunity to cut off a whole chain. You have a whole chain, so supply chain that you actually cut off by taking your dollar. Because I'm not going to say, but let's just say that a certain coffee shop's patronage dropped 30%. Who you think is supplying them with that shit? That shit dropped too. Now, it might not drop a full 30%, but they going to drop a percentage too.
They're going to fill it in their pocket.
And who do you think is working for them?
Come on!
And so you want to make sure that we have to figure out a way. I don't know if it's a registry, I don't know what it is, but we have to make sure that we can identify one another. And so there's another part of me that says you need to wear Black Lives Matter like a fucking badge. Because just like the cops wear a fucking badge, you need to wear like a fucking badge, because I need to see your ass. And guess what? There's gonna be some of these incognegros and some of these what they call ghost skins. I don't know if you know what a ghost skin is, but a ghost skin is basically like a skinhead who blends into society and pretends to be, like everyone else, to further white supremacy causes. So
and on that, and listen, I hate to even have to cut you off, but what I hate more is if it cut us off altogether. So listen, I want to say thank you so much. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Romany Malco. Come on, y'all.
Tijuana Jackson, Purpose Over Prison. Go check it out. You can go to tijuanajackson.com right now. Get a laugh. Just check out the trail. It's hilarious. I love y'all. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Check your DM shortly. Absolutely, King. Check your DM. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
God bless you. Bye.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a very informative conversation. I'm so excited you guys were able to witness it. Wherever you are, whoever you're doing it with, please remember, we have power in our vote. There's power in our word. But it's more importantly, y'all, there's power in our prayer. We can change some things. Get down. But before you go vote, you pray, honey. Get into it. I want you guys to remember to always, always, always do two things. Vote. Jury trial. Well, 3. Vote, jury trial, fill out the census, and arm yourself and protect yourself. Don't just go get a gun. Make sure you get a license, because they will kill you without one. They're going to kill you with a license. But make sure you at least have a license to carry. I love you. I am so grateful that you are here. Dancie Darlings, you know that I mess with y'all the long way. I appreciate you. Come see me tomorrow. This week is going to be a fantastic week. We kicked it off hard with everyone that was on the show. I'll see you very, very soon. If you're not following me already, make sure you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all things social. And make sure that you click share this DM. And last but not least, I am here Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. on the West Coast. And guess what? On Sunday at 5 p.m. for Celebration Sunday. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Tell the people that you love them now. Don't wait till they're dead and gone. Bye.